welcome. You're watching Head to Head on UATV. I'm Oles Garjuk. Today we're going to talk about Spain, where tensions continue to develop after the Catalan government formally declared independence from the state. This decision has caused the biggest political crisis in Spain in 4 decades. The central Spanish government in Madrid has already responded to Catalan regional authorities, stripping the region of its autonomous status. Moreover, Madrid removed the Catalan Parliament together with its leader Carles Puigdemont. To discuss how fair this confrontation is and what the possible solutions to the situation could be, we are joined in the studio by diplomat and foreign affairs expert Yaroslav Voytko. Hello and thank you for coming.
Good afternoon.
First of all, Mr. Voytko, I understand that the whole process itself is very controversial, but could you give us your opinion how legitimate the decision of the Catalan government to declare independence was?
In your initial words, you said about something like fair confrontation. I do not believe that a confrontation might be fair. Once it exists, then perhaps the parties to the confrontation have their arguments and legal grounds on which they put their arguments. But still, the main condition, that is legitimacy, it's missing here. Unfortunately, the Catalan leaders have proclaimed their independence, if we say from the point of view of the central Spanish government, this was an illegal action, and the referendum that took place on October 1st was illegal in itself. And this contrasts, for example, with the situation in Ukraine 26 years ago, where we proclaimed our independence, and then there was a legal referendum. The people confirmed their choice. 90% were pro-independent Ukraine. Here's another situation where we have the illegal referendum, but it went ahead, and there were clashes, as you remember, on October 1st, and the people suffered, and this probably put some legitimacy to the Catalan side, because there should not have been any violence. We live in a democratic European world, and but in itself the situation is quite controversial, because the Catalan leaders tried to push ahead their position irrespective of what the central government thought.
But what was illegal about the referendum?
Well, the declaration was of the referendum itself was basically illegal, because it does not correspond to the Spanish constitution. If the referendum was declared by the Spanish government, and for example the not similar but other referendums were taking place this past Sunday in Italy, where Lombardy and Veneto just held very legal referendums to expand their autonomy. This was not the case with the Catalan leaders, and this caused the entire problem, basically.
What was missing in the process?
The legality of the declaration of this independence and this referendum in the first place, because the Catalan government had already the broadest possible autonomy, and the Spanish leaders, we may believe them or not, but they claim that the Catalan autonomy was having those rights that are not only the best in the European continent, but in the world at large. And if the legal grounds existed for the referendum and then for the declaration of independence, then it would have been legal. It is not, unfortunately.
And from the latest news, Catalan politicians and civil servants have returned to work in spite of Prime Minister Rajoy's decision to suspend them. And on the other hand, we know about the rally for Spanish unity held in Barcelona. So it looks like the Catalan society is pretty much divided. And theoretically, would it be appropriate to change maybe the constitution and use the referendum procedure to clarify what the population wants?
Well, it's up to the Spanish government to choose the means of handling the situation, whether it could be a legal referendum now or whether it could be elections, because we know that the government of Spain has declared elections will be held on December the 21st, and this will be the legal way for those Catalan leaders who are now in place to express their views.
And as far as I remember, the former Catalan leader Puigdemont has the right to participate in these elections.
Yes, exactly, and the Spanish authorities confirmed that he and other parliamentarians and members of the Catalan government have every right to participate in those elections, unless Mr. Puigdemont is prosecuted and detained and maybe jailed, because this is the condition. Otherwise, he can participate.
Mm-hmm. But what's your opinion? Who lost the negotiations, Rajoy or Puigdemont?
Well, both sides have had to sit around the table and hold those negotiations which Mr. Puigdemont suggested on October 10th, when he basically was short of proclaiming independence at that time. He demanded 2 months of negotiations with the Spanish central government, but he was never given this choice. And now, anyway, the situation could not be resolved violently, so both sides have to make some concessions. For example, Spanish government, as we already mentioned, they allowed those leaders from this Catalan region to participate in the elections, whereas Catalan leaders said, well, okay, perhaps let us consider, let's participate in those elections.
Mm-hmm. And regardless of being for or against secession, some Catalans are saying that a referendum itself is somehow some act of manifestation of democracy. How fair is that?
Well, yes, there are different ways in which democracy exists, and a referendum is one of them. The other one is elections and participation in local authorities. So, but the referendums lacks legality in this particular case. Besides, the Catalan society is divided, as we already discussed. About 40% of population, but this was a silent majority, as they say, or silent side of the population that did not speak out on the 1st of October. They did not participate in this illegal referendum.
Yeah, because only 45% of
exactly. So only 43% of population who had the right to vote participated, and 90% of those said yes to independence. But yesterday in Barcelona there was a huge manifestation, as you mentioned. 300,000 people participated, maybe more, because the organizers said up to 1 million persons were there. And those who were in the pro-unity manifestation, they took placards with them saying that 38% of voters is not the entire Catalonia. So if we take 43 of those who had the right to participate, and 90% said yes, then only 38% of the population who had the right to vote voted yes. And besides, the recent polls show that if those elections go ahead on the 21st of December, then the pro-independence parties would have only about 47% of mandates in this new parliament. So it's not a done case, a fait accompli. It's not yet decided whether in a legal, legitimate referendum, whether the vote for independence would sustain.
Mm-hmm. How do you think, is there any risk that the process will stop being peaceful?
Well, yes, it depends on how the Spanish government handles it. Yes, we know that the decisions taken on October 27th, they were rather strict, and the government was dismissed, and the government members were only allowed to come back to their offices to take away their belongings. Only one minister, if I remember correctly, said that he would do what Catalan people has charged him with doing, but after 45 minutes he left as well. The portraits of Catalan leaders have been removed, especially in those places where the police, the local police are stationed. And it depends on whether the clashes will continue, because
but people came back to work today.
Yes, people came back to work, and well, basically nothing happened after the proclamation of independence. The people perhaps will gather again during the weekends. There may be another manifestation of pro-independence people, and another manifestation by pro-unity people. And what is important here, the people who are pro-independence and pro-unity, they do not clash with each other. They have no animosity between them. Those who want Catalan independence, they take grudge against central Spanish government, because it's very unpopular in Catalonia. Only 2% of Catalans support the People's Party, the party which is headed by Mariano Rajoy, the Prime Minister. And of course, the local and pro-autonomy, pro-independence parties at this point are much stronger.
What could be the consequences of this secession if it happens?
Well, if it finally happens, I don't know why I do not see the legal way of it happening. Then the other part of the story and the second part of the truth must be told by Catalan leaders to the Catalan people, because 65% of trade turnover of Catalonia is with the European Union. And it might be just lost in 1 second, because there is the so-called Prodi doctrine in the European Union. Romano Prodi is the former Prime Minister of Italy and the former Chairman of the European Commission, and this doctrine states that if a region or some part of the country wants to secede, then it is not automatically a member of the European Union. Then the Catalan goods will be charged with duties like the goods from third countries.
And as far as I know, many companies has already left Catalonia. Many worldwide companies.
About 1,700 companies have moved their headquarters. They have not moved out of Spain completely, but they moved their headquarters to other part of Spain. Then imagine this country having no external borders, having no control over its airspace or seashore. So this could be very difficult. If Catalans want, for example, to establish checkpoints to block the Spanish police from coming into the region, then it's fight, it's clashes. I do not want to see this happening.
Well, the European Union has stayed on the sidelines. Do you think the territory would be borderless still, or how would it change the
I think yes. For the time being, this is a borderless territory. Again, the new state, in the first place, it will not be recognized automatically. It could only pass like 2 to 3 to 5 years, probably, until it is recognized. You may remember the situation with Kosovo a few years ago. This is the country that is not recognized by many European countries, including Spain itself, including Ukraine itself.
So today, the same would happen to Catalonia?
The same would happen to Catalonia. They would have to fight, and they want and they need to understand what are they fighting for.
So basically what you mean is that Catalonia as a province will not succeed
I do not see it happening in the near future.
State. Okay, then let's hope Spanish and Catalan authorities will find some way to push through the political crisis?
Only negotiations and peaceful talks.
Thank you so much for this interesting conversation.
My pleasure.
That was Yaroslav Voytko, diplomat and foreign affairs expert. Thank you for watching Head to Head. I'm Carles Puigdemont. Goodbye.